this all the supplies people that they use to Sudan because that's in direct violation of the international law, including the international arms trade, international arms trade treaty, and also the US so that prohibits the transfer of weapons into Darfur, including the Sudan document itself. So those are forms we have. Um, we also actually we have seen the situation in North Darfur specifically currently, where the siege by the RSF is actually starving the population in North Darfur. Those people who are trapped in fashion are not able to flee because there's no safe passage for them. If they flee, they are attacked by RSF and allied militias. And if they stay inside Al-Fasha, they actually die because the RSF are preventing humanitarian aid to reach the people in Al-Fasha. We are calling on the international community to ensure that they ask the parties, particularly the rapid support forces, to allow humanitarian aid to reach people in Darfur, particularly in North Darfur, the city of Al-Fasha, and also ensure that people who are trying to flee the conflict are given safe passage for them to, live Al-Fasha. The human rights defenders generally are also facing a lot of challenges, and we know that a number of countries have aid, including the United States. That aid was essential for humanitarian support and also for civil society groups like the Forum of Human Rights to continue to do their human rights operations. And again, we are calling on the international community, particularly the funders, especially the EU and others, to step in and ensure that there is increased humanitarian support, increased support for human rights defenders and activists in Sudan, including providing funding that will be essential for implementation and reporting of human rights violations. With those few remarks, thank you so much for the invite again, and I am happy to be part of this launch today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi, for those timely reflections and standing with us from afar. Your words remind us that solidarity knows no borders, and we deeply value Amnesty's continuing commitment to the people of Darfur. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome the panel on stage and give us their diverse perspectives on the situation in North Darfur and the findings in our report. It's my pleasure to introduce the moderator, Mr. George Nalo, the co-founder of Education in Crisis, an NGO based in Tanzania, working to transform access to education for children and youth affected by crisis. George brings both lived experience and advocacy expertise to this conversation. I'd also like to welcome our chief, a journalist, human rights defender, and activist in transitional justice and peace. Born in Al-Fasher, North Darfur, our chief is an award-winning journalist and activist with a master's degree in economics from the University of Nairobi. She's worked with outlets including Radio Afia Darfur and co-founded Radio Dabanga. A round of applause is Our team has also played a key role in transitional justice processes, contributing to the transitional justice model for Dafur and training civil society actors across the region. Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Muhammad Badawi, a Monitoring and Documentation Director at African Center for Justice and Peace Studies. Mohammed Badawi is the Monitoring and Documentation Director at the African Center for Justice and Peace Studies. In this role, he leads efforts to collect, verify, and analyze information on human rights violations in Sudan. His expertise lies in human rights monitoring, legal documentation, and advocacy for accountability, with a focus on protecting civilians in conflict-affected areas such as Darfur. And lastly, I'd like to welcome Muhammad Hassan, our Executive Director at the Darfur Network for Human Rights. A round of applause, please. Mohammed is a seasoned human rights defender with over 15 years of experience in monitoring, documenting, and reporting on human rights violations in Sudan, particularly Darfur. He holds a Bachelor of Law from the International University of East Africa, Kampala, and he formed a DNHR in 2014, where he continues to lead efforts of transitional justice and accountability. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Once again, my name is Pierre Malo, and I'm pleased to be here today for this very, very important scientific launch of the report that speaks of the volumes of the atrocities that are being committed by both South and RSF in Sudan, most specifically the northern of the city of Bashir. So with me, I have great team here with me, already been introduced to you, and we want to try to know more from this report, and most importantly, from your own experiences, which you have already, you have a lot, you have been doing the work of human rights work in Sudan. I want us to be open. At the end of the day, we'll have a question and answer, whereby you can be able to ask any questions. So please be open enough for this discussion, because my panel will also help you to interpret use a simple language, because sometimes we use very tough terms that we are the audience sometimes don't understand. So I want to start with this gender balance, because we have had so much from men, and human rights is that we are all equal. And so I want to give this opportunity to our first panel discussion person to lead us, and for your work, Ms. Awade, you have worked with communities in Darfur, and of course, in all your work you've done. So I believe you have seen what's happening, especially in the organization of fashion. I do not know, and maybe others do not know, what does the it look like in a fashion at the moment or in the world.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank the Darfur Network for Human Rights. This question is very interactive when I want to ask about the people in discussion. How can I explain? One day, I called my colleague and family every day in discussion, or I sent messages while I thought to give or check on them. They told me the bombs starting and the drones are flying overhead. Next day, I received heartbroken news. One of those people I spoke to him will be died. Everything.
Fortunate was these are life experiences that you're giving, and how is it that now that there is learning and sharing always how are the people coping now?
Actually, people they sleep in hall and in the ground in the box.
Because now we are meeting in Kampala, there are people meeting in New York, there are always people meeting in Zambia or Geneva. Their voices of the people always sometimes they feel maybe no one is listening to them. For us who are meeting here, who are meeting in New York or somewhere else, how best can we present these voices from the ground without putting them at risk?
Okay, thank you for this question. Survivors is not numbers, it is a story. Must be here and by documenting stories and also by engage global media platform and also we can create a space for the driver of that code will be listening. Thank you.
And I will be getting to the next person who is Mr. Mohammed Badou from African Center for Justice and Peace Studies, whose profile is very strong and welcome you here to the panel. My first question is you have worked so much in human rights documentation, most especially the human rights abuses, and from your expectation, I mean from your perspective, what what does or what makes the bombing of North Dafur stand out compared to other parts of Dafur
After all, ladies and gentlemen, those on the line, what predicts human rights defenders in the ground, or President of the Bank of Sudan. We want to go to the answer. I think this is a special event, not only by watching the report of the flashback, but because to me, next week go back to 2004. I would like to welcome four human rights defenders with us here at the home. Two of them with the background of survivors at IDP camps in Miala and Shagapowa. Muhammad Hassan, in 2004, he was 11 years old. He was the youngest monitor among our team of Hamad Center for treatment and rehabilitation victim exposure. So for the last 21 years, he has been doing active work in documentation of the violations across the IDP camp. I wouldn't say that he played a role in many investigations that took place, but his work was significant. His testimony was taken to account by many actors across the globe. The second one is Musa Ali, and he's a human rights defender, and he was us here. He grown up in Singapore, Let us imagine from North, South Darfur to Kampala and make it as human rights defenders from survivors' position. The third person, I came across several through his cases 3 times. At the arrest, first time, 2019, 2019, 20. Then our team discussed why we don't evacuate this man to participate in one of our workshops in Kampala. After a while, after discussions, after training, CFP David, who became a human rights defender, established a free and one network or initiative in his functioning of documentation and advocacy on human rights in Darfur and across Sudan. And the first person is allowed to sit next to me. It should be a PhD holder. Unfortunately, a laptop was confiscated. She was put in arrest. We document that case at the African Center and it was confiscated and documented by the National Security Sudan. And they asked her at that time to pay at least $800 to get back as a bribe to get back her laptop. She refused because she committed as human rights defender. She lost the HB, but she gained the respect of the human rights, the behavior of the human rights. Kindly pick up for those four human rights defenders with us in the room. This is the way we can make history and we can make it. Back to your question, and fashion one of the oldest towns was established in 1760. It's before the man, before the food, before the was a city in line with Bamako, with Bashi, with Amaoud, with Barbara. The geographical location of fashion and the historical value for was the capital of the whole kingdom. That is why it became one of the towns in the competition, not only by itself and ourselves, but all the alliance. Secondly, the town of Oasis, which is Oasis, or Widows Oasis, or those that forces Oasis. You can imagine the resource value of such that situation. Thank you so much. A very good historian. I love history. You have spoken in my mind. Thank you so much. Definitely very good. And, in most cases, my second question to you, Mr. Mohammed, people often hear the words war crimes, violations, and all this in the most simple terms you can call it and use. Would you explain what these terms would mean in reference to what is happening? What's happening in the local food in general, what we're fighting was before that incident in Mali, in Uganda, in Canada, or personally I would say that in the most main towns, a series of violations, distributed family, sexual violence, forced disappearance, protected risk, and all the elements of war crimes, crimes against humanity, uh, uh, you can find it in the series of the act committed against civilians by the both sides. I wouldn't say that because now we are facing an attack by RSF, but also there's a violation committed by the different war party, either the people forces or allied militias. I don't want to conclude and say maybe we know some of these war crimes. Maybe could you give some few brief examples? A few examples of this, I think on the 19th of September, was on or drone strike but one of the most among one of the civilians in the group, which is uh, in the last service area in the fashion, resulted at least 65 uh, people, among them injured, among them family members. In terms of professionals, there's a need of medical support for fashion, number of children. So it was then the civilians with background to involve them civilian fashion. So this is near is being considered as well.
Thank you so much. And I know some of us now have a little bit maybe understanding of what the work looks like or sounds like. So thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. You answer a few questions. Now move forward, Mr. Mohammed Adam, your colleague, Mr. Mohammed Badawi. And in this day, we are, when you are 11 years, you took charge of your life and risk for the history of the country, and most importantly, for the world. We will not just sit here today out of blue, but it is because of your commitment to upholding the human rights violations which are being committed by anyone who is violating the human rights in Sudan, especially the South and the RSF. In this moment, in our report, we have seen that markets and homes, hospitals, all other civilian infrastructure in order for people to understand what these attacks mean to ordinary families in Northern Forest. You are most welcome.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your attendance in this event, especially my colleague, defender, the police, people trade partner, and my boss, Africa Center, and civil society from the Kampala. Really appreciate all this meeting. This much, I really appreciate. My name is Muhammad Hassan. I'm the director of Human Rights. Thank you for putting it in encouraging me about my previous history. Buddy, I know him since 2004. Really, I'm a center that is first my experience give me how to be one of the most of you maybe don't know I'm a center. I'm a center one of the most local national organization doing preventive human rights in Dafur region, that's time. In 2007, after Bashir Isha went by ICC, one of the including organizations, one of the national organization promised to give Bashir they took them out with an international organization. So thank you so much for the bodies now. They really remind me about my background history. Uh, so in this report, uh, really, really, they have a lot of parts. So as you will see the video and two videos about situation in the forum, in North forum, this attack really systemic and spread upon the stuff. So my colleague mentioned, we see in home, mosque, hospital, those those are not military capital. This is civilian. This is civilian where they keep to stay inside and to be safe. So, but unfortunately, we see RSF and SAP, they really systemic attack on this civilian. So, in this report, we have many testimony So during these attacks, we see a lot of survivors. They first disappear, displacement, missing, starvation, traumatization, and depletion. So it's really, I'm so sad to see situation like now in North Darfur. You see, North Darfur, and this North Darfur will have main two camps, Zamzam and Abshore. Those camps established decades ago in 2003 and 2004. So violations is repeats again. The violation is repeat again. So now we see most 90% of civilians now living out of the home. They live between Zamzam and Tawila and surrounding area. They, they lost the hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. My next question is, of course, I know you have been in this situation and you know what it means since 2003, 20 years ago. And you have been listening to the stories from the survivors. Of course, you being one of the survivors, you already understand what it means. What stands out in all these stories when the survivor decides to tell you what transpired?
The survivors or the victims as main one. The world we need to understand this situation of these survivors, our victims, because they need to recognize and we need action. Unfortunately, since war started 15 April, we see an international community silent, no any action. It's not international community. Even we see our regional, in Africa regional. So we see it's no action. Violation every day, thousands of people died. For example, last 3 days, my brother said in Moscow, the lost killing more than 60%. And this is in one time. So, and also we see every day, our monitoring on the ground, send us report. We see many people killing. And even in every resort, in open resort, we see the perpetrators committed crimes and clear even international shown in the video. So this is really we need action. So we cannot, that's the reason now from this report, we see decision maker from the youth, human rights defender, civil society, members of progressive journalists, please, this situation in Darfur, we need solidarity. Darfur have been suffering. The victims don't like to waiting for long. Victims, they need accountability for justice should be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And I'm sure this is a very strong point to the national community and regional bodies, so we can be able to stand in solidarity wherever we are. I want to now ask all of you one more question. I hope maybe two. I will still a little bit time. And I will start with Mr. Mohammed Badawi. If you are the one message for the world leaders and decision makers, what would that message be?
I would say that you have to expand the level of analysis. Unfortunately, case is really very good. It's a model case. It's repeated from forward, forward. And this is if we share accountability in the rest of Sudan. In the case of Sudan, you need to start to break the cycle. By what is you reach.
Thank you so much. I give the chance to Ms. Sawati. Same question. If-
Um, I want to send a message also to all leaders in the world. I think stop war in Sudan. Stop war in Sudan. We need to live in peace. We need to return our home and cultivating our land, not burying our dead. This is my message to all.
Thank you so much. We need to return. Ahmed Adam, would you answer for me the question? Same question. You have the chance to take the one message to the decision makers around the world. What would that message be?
Thank you so much, Ben. Situations in North Darfur no need waiting. Situations need action. I mean actions. We need all of us, all civil society, journalists, human rights defenders, to stand up, to raise their voice of the victims. That is my message.
Thank you. Without moving the mic from you, I have now one last question to all of you. And the question is, despite all these challenges that the people in North Dakota are going through, that the people in Dakota are going through, the people in Sudan are going through, what is the resilience? Where do you see the resilience of the people? Do you see where that something is showing signs that the people in Darfur, in North Darfur, are passion, they are very resilient? Do you see, where do you see that?
I saw, as I mentioned, because we see every day in social media, in open source, we see a video, survivors speak, we see perpetrators commit crimes and publish in social media. So this is really clear evidence to people, and this appeal not civil society Sudanese. So even in this country, civil society for Kampala in East Africa. This time, situation in Sudan, it is really above of our level. So we need solidarity, we need to raise our voice one hand, to see action, to push in our local social media, in our local community, in our TV, in our African Commission, IGAD. So this is really the responsibility of situation in Sudan. Because therefore, not therefore, now 500 days, people, civilians, under sieging. We've seen installations, we've seen people killing under tensions, even we've seen leaders died like your food. We've seen forces disappear. Even we've seen a body in the road between Tawila and Bashir, with the people who knows Bashir very well. So this is really we need action. We are human beings. We are part of the region, continent. We are part of the international community. Why not to solidarity and to stand up to raise the voice of these victims? Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. I will go to Mr. Mohammed now. In all what's happening, despite it all, where do you see the resilience of people?
I don't want the people out of order to that what that's what to prevent them. But I'm seeing the town of resilience. Women defending themselves. This is, I don't think it's very good. They forced to put on the military of war. Zamzam, and pilgrims. But this is the role of the life that Red Cross and is to secure safe corridors to free women to the helpless to reach the destination. Because that didn't happen, that's why the people start building on the experience to produce an amazing story for the
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I will go to my last panel, Awaki. And what is the resilience you see among the people despite all these challenges that they are facing?
Yes, thank you. We see people fighting hunger, epidemics, and children death by malnutrition, and they ate trees leaves and animals food. Like this, all people die every day, and the women they don't have any care else. Every time about women and the gender violence against women, it is a lot, and sometimes it's like ethnic. When you see women on the road, just when are women, when the women is coming, they feel or they leaving, and after that, sometimes they make photo for them and videos when you see, and sometimes they undressing with researching or kidnapping in the road of Tawila.
Thank you so much. That's been a pleasure having you on my panel discussion. And I want to ask the audience to prepare your hands so that we can give them a very good. I know you're rushing, but please wrap for me your hands. Can we wrap them? Let us wrap our hands. And when I say 1, 2, 3, then after counting 3, then you give 1. Okay? Then I will say again, say 1, 2, 3, give 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. So that will have concluded my thanks to my panel, which has been very great. So let us start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Badawi, Mr. Mohammed Hassan, Mr. Awati. Thank you so much for your discussions. And before you leave, I want to give the opportunity to the audience to ask you any clarification. So it is an opportunity for you to ask for more information if you wish. You would like to ask, you can direct your question. It can be open. Anyone can ask. If you want to ask Mr. Mohammed Hassan or Mr. Wati or Mr. Mohammed Badawi, you can ask. If you want it to be open, you can be free. Anyone with any question?
Thank you so much, Dafur Network for Human Rights, for inviting us. This is my name is Ismail from our students organizations. I do appreciate for the panelists for these fruitful discussions. And here is my first hand questions. I'm not sure quite for who I will refer, but I will leave it open. Anyone from your side can take that to response. Yes, in the report of everyday bump, hunger, loss of life, accounts of forgotten victims in North Darfur. So I'm very curious to know the key findings of your report, as we need to understand exactly. Uh, Open your research in your perspective research what the key findings that for us as we are ground organizations uh, we have percentage of knowledge, but we need to share this time your finding with the audience who they are not present in the or not the. The second one is based on your documentation research. So we need to understand what the time of your recommendation as you need to pass it for the relevant entities or relevant accountability mechanism in order to take place. Yeah, thank you so much. This is my questions.
Maybe we can just answer and then if there is another, or we take all questions and maybe we can just answer before we mix up any understanding. So one of the, I think Mr. Mohammed Bedr would like to respond.
Thank you so much. I'm not part of the people on the ground, but I engage in a heavy discussion with Muhammad as we go about the report from the IPS team. He said the final draft, the one that will be submitted after this panel. But there is a lot of recommendation directly to the national and the regional mechanisms. In terms of accountability, there is recommendation ICC about taking further action on the flagship case. There is more an invitation to the FFN to more engage with the report, to be more detailed, because all of us will receive or went through the first report of the first year, which it came down further details and comprehensive elements to the plans that were fashioned. And that, I think, with the African Commission, but also it has a mandate. So we have seen the report recently published also from the Commission and join the post the UN, the Human Rights Council, or the International Security Council, and the African Union, if we can together, both complementary mechanisms, either within the regional level or international level. So there is no, or no is that have to report around this. So this is kind of a norm that can be produced by the social bloc for national or regional organization, but it doesn't try to direct even this regional and international mechanism what way to be done to address the situation of such in Sudan. And the first question, I think every factor is a series of elements of war crimes being committed in a fashion. For disappearance, at least 5,000 people were killed. There is evidence of sexual violence, and there is political shows itself because 35 interviews, and I think 127 testimonies, and there is intervals, there is, yeah, I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Hassan. Would you like to add something small?
Actually, I don't like to repeat basically the put of the text of these reports of the title of reports. This title of reports, this is the came from the survivors. And this title, when it say everyday bound hunger and lost life. So all of you know, people from Sudan or Darfur, you know what's happening every day. So these findings of these reports by colleague nation, just for me, I repeat again, this is report we need for the collective actions to move for this, to stop these violations in West Darfur. Because people of West Darfur, 500 days to live without any access to land.
you so much. And yes, there's another question.
Thank you, Team Chan, and everyone who had made this a reality. Mine is one or two. I have, from my experience, seen, we do reports, monitor, document, and come out with a report. But the problem has always been, because we gather a lot of information and there are in those reports, how do we make sure those reports speak volumes, speak magnitude? Because the situation in Sudan, as you said, it's not getting a much global attention it needs. And it's through reports like this one that voices of victims have to come out. As you have just said, the title of the report is from a survivor. How do we, for example, push this report that is even before the UN Security Council meeting to be discussed about? Because we can do reporting is one thing, but making those reports to such spaces, like as we speak now, the UN General UN meeting is ongoing, General Assembly. How do we have these reports there to make sure Sudan is number one priority to be discussed? I read your report, when the war ends, I'll go back home. That is the catchy title. And you have to work, for example, towards it. And through such reports that we push these voices, we make sure, voices of survivors come out, and, global leaders, maybe people behind these wars, come to know, the repercussions they are causing, to the, grassroots people. She talked about starvation as a weapon of war. But this is the time I think Ubuntu should come up, This solidarity shouldn't be charity, it's justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had to just the microphone since it was near me. I want to salute colleagues at the Dafur Network for human rights for coming up with this report. I haven't read the report, but I'm itching to lay my hands on it and be able to read it. My name is Robert Dudiaja. I'm an environmental human rights defender based in Uganda. I head an organization, African Greenhouse Network, and I strongly associate with the Dafur Network for human rights. As a good friend, and I want to ask just on what he raised. Is it possible, because we see like Dafur Network for human rights is very active on X. Is it possible that we can actually probably as a way to disseminate, and we probably maybe organize maybe a Twitter space, an X space, sort of like to be able to engage the audience out there? Because the good thing is that many people that wanted to make it here, but they can't make it. So I think after the report, we could actually have the next space to be able to unpack some of the issues that are coming out in the report. But in light of the same, from my perspective as someone from environment, I'd like to inquire from you, Hassan, specifically. Do you think that there could be some, underlying natural resource issues within that region that are, catalyzing the conflicts to continue going on? Because I have been following the conversation, for example, in DRC, the conflicts in DRC. Us in the environment and climate change movement, at the global level, there is a lot of, rush for companies that are coming here in Africa to get minerals and, critical minerals that are supposed to power the energy production. So they are always interested in having these conflicts continue, without stopping, so that they can be able to, tap some of those minerals. So I would like to know, maybe if the report doesn't capture it, maybe can it be another task that we need to interrogate to establish there are really those forces that could be focusing on this mineral extraction. Because whenever there is conflicts, these guys want to get the minerals for them, that's what they want. But of course, it is also the story from her is quite touching, especially on the victims. I personally have been advocating on issues that they need to mainstream, climate change, climate action intervention. I can imagine, the people already vulnerable, again, their situation being worsened by, climate change, especially such an area, disasters, washing down our people. So it's really, it looks like it's a catch-22 between an hard war and a hard place. So how do we try to say direct what you have just raised? How do we ensure that we use this? Because personally, I belong to a national coalition of women's independence in Uganda. And whenever what we do, that when we do like such a report, like especially maybe like we usually do UPR, Universal Periodic Review, to try and see that it goes all the way to the UN Human Rights Council. These issues are captured. So is there a way how we can be able to tap, be able to capture the international, audience? Because I want to see when the full impact for human tweaks, I want them to tap, all these international guys, so they're able to know what is going to happen. And maybe we can also break down the report into some small slides, small slides, information can easily be disseminated in a way that we actually use it and to have to build a momentum that the revolution doesn't stop in this room and it continues to spark the revolution out there. Thank you so much.
Taking once.
Thank you. Mine is a question. I want to highlight the issue of racial discrimination of all the crime committed, all the crime being committed in the country and not committed on Muslim faith. And all the north area are safe. Most of them are from the so-called Arab country. And they believe all Arab supremacy, and they regard the other indigenous African tribes as the slave or inferior. So this one is very clear when you look at it in social media, especially whenever there is an execution or a similar execution against the civilian, first of all, that they are them about the right or social execution. We never mention one of the indigenous African tribes immediately during execution. This is not all in this mode of even from the very early beginning when the RSF was still their crimes against indigenous African tribes based on their ethnicity. And also the other thing is as far as ending and peace is concerned, in November 2024, pro-RSF NGOs, some of them basically issued during a statement, claiming that this is a joint present in Zamzam and Africa. And in order to pave the way for the RSF to attack the country, and that was happening. And the bad things for those who issued this statement, like we are related to the learning course of European agreement, have the present in Zamzam, are based here in Uganda. Then NGOs are based here in Uganda. And also the family of the victim of Zamzam comes to that here. But we don't have access to legal aid. In order to take those NGOs, individuals who falsely issued the statement and claim that the very court as the president Zamzam victims, and later RSF attacked victims and was dismantled. Thank you.
So much for now. Those questions. And I am not sure of the order, but
Maybe Mr. Ahmed about the so-called way forward and using the national actors. I think that was work for human rights really have plan for focusing. And on behalf of the whole network, I would like to announce that we will not work for October 2022 the campaign of the Gambia during the holding the African Commission for for Human Rights sessions. So this is an open invitation for you and those online. Let's make it be further with the proxy partner under the network in the way of how can the second also I want the idea of using the social media and tagging, but I think if we have the BBC having to focus on campaign and I think this is an opportunity to have some we can use this network and this is you can reach across East Africa and maybe I would suggest that we maybe another one area of that so we can reach to the western part of our Africa and there also there is Africa in housing language. So if we manage I think to cover our continent here because even the international community has representatives in different countries so they can pick out the second shukran Dewan I do agree with you that there is different elements of that war, what's going on. But the development in this war and there are people out there. There are some people from different, like even from the majority of the victims' tribe. If we count, we find that within the leaders, we have found from the main tribe victims of 2004 and April 2013. So this is war of poor source. That is the nature of war. Secondly, about the statement, I think we need to talk about the inequality. That is the most the inequality, and we need to look at that what the government we need to sit down to address these issues. What go around Nigeria to serve as them, serve as them. So this is the only way we can clear this kind of questions. So, I think the question raised to you, so much Robert, thank you so much for actually for me I put it Robert is one of the recent leadership so we focus in climate change and national so yes we are Africa here I think the purpose of Sudan and Dafur is clear. So when you see now, before I said why the national community side, we see interventions in Sudan and especially in Dafur is clear.
So, and still now I'm speaking with you before at 12 p.m. the plans, the loading in airport of Niala, and after 1 hour they take off. So it's clear now that it's clear and controlling by out of the hand of the foreign or leaders of the food because we've seen Colombia fighters, we've seen some people even we don't know from Libya, from West Africa. So this is the clear focus in our state. Yes, therefore, rich by resource, diamonds, gold, mineral. So this is clear. But the questions for me as this report, my colleague Bertolini, he told you, because we need as people soil in Africa, especially East Africa, we need solidarity together. We need to rise this one voice. Because even we see in the Sudan also, they're going to divide it. Because divided is not commitment of the Sudanese themselves. So that's the reason I don't like to speak in this area most so much because they're critical. But as civil society, we need solidarity and to do advocacy, to raise our voice, to stop interventions in our regions, and also as civil society, Sudanese and East Africa, try to raise voice of the victims to stop this war. That is one for our priority. Because second, we think how this resource as in Africa, our Sudanese, how to invest this resource. Thank you so much.
So much, and I hope that all the questions have been answered. We have every specific and speak on the group because that process is important. How many questions? Okay, thank you so much. Uh, for really brilliant on how do we push for justice and also punishment for the crime. I know the violation in Sudan is everywhere. Whether in Darfur, in other part of the country, everywhere is violation. And the violation are committed by both parties. The other said, okay, where they have it, holding the gun. And some of the crimes are actually committed by people that we don't know. Because the guns are just people have everybody has even civilians right now, some of them have guns. And they can even end up turning in certain ethnicity as we see. According to this report, we are saying that when you look at the crimes that is committed, after it is committed by both parties, the RSF and the government. But then somehow, somewhere, we believe that there are some ethnicity to have more stated than for they are just targeted by the RSF or the government. They specifically target those group of people just to like eliminate the specific. Do you think both the government and RSF probably are targeting certain specific crime that they, both of them they just need to put these people whether it is RSF or not? But yeah, I would like to put it that uh, what to do because I think there are two issues. There is, the first issue whereby it was related to historical valuation, some in the same place, and also there is a point of issues of finding victims or finding in terms of finding a victim to be introduced with death. And here, specifically, I'm talking about the issue of about what they hope, because that's what we do interviews with them. Regarding to those two points, and I see but this story in terms of the international meeting. So I guess I would like to highlight this one, like I really like the right direction because as you have mentioned that I have a lot of organizations that even more than 20 years, but still until now we are not seeing like the outcomes of what we are doing. So yeah, I'm highlighting this point because still you have experiences because it's just amazing. So I would like also to highlight sometimes the regarding to this point because yeah, because at the end of the day we want to reach good people. Thank you so much for your questions. I am not sure if we have anyone else so that we can. I want to consider one direction, thank you for inviting me to this very important meeting. I have not really a question, but I will start with. I know that a lot of negotiations that have been going on with the government. I just want to understand what steps were the local government integrated or were part of this process. Because you know, sometimes some of these companies needs also the people who are affected or the communities that are affected to be part of the peaceful processes that have been continuing. So I don't know where the negotiations have reached. And then I also don't know what the local communities were involved in. And then I like the idea that we need to spread out if we are talking about that community. And in terms of sharing the report that is being launched today, again, as Elder Pierre Fisher in the Gambia, we have a side event with a special report. So I think it's very important for some of you present to be part of the side event, but also we provide forces and see how we can engage the different the rapporteur, the special rapporteur, but also the commissioners themselves to take up their roles because they have a very important role to play in terms of making sure that this war ends. The other is also all under the issues that are going on right now in Dafur. I also want to understand that UN has a mandate to get referrals. We all know that Sudan is not part of the ICC, and so the countries does not directly apply to them. But the United Nations has a mandate to get referrals. And I know that they need referrals for the situation of Sudan in 2003. I don't know again if anything has been done. I saw the recommendation that are used, but if international communities, have the mandate to make sure that they understand what is going on and the violations and the abuses that are taking place. But again, I don't know to what extent the UN is playing their role in making sure that sacrifices are made and the people that are causing these abuses, both from the RSF side and SAF, approach to both to face the consequences of the law for what they are doing. Thank you so much, questions, and they are not directed to anybody, they are both directed to all of you, and maybe we can invite them up, you can answer the question that you have answers to, and whom should I start with? Maybe, uh, I think so much, the different issues, so, for as a element of income, because our step sounds where well before we go, now some of the before we go, it's out of some of those steps. Again, the Islamic movement, the SPP, the former SPP, also supporting Islam. There is regional alliance evidence supporting both sides. It is a war about power and resource. You can prove that when you see Egypt is the fifth country for fossil war without one mining in the ground. You can prove that when you find 500,000 Sudanese refugees smuggled to Egypt across the desert apparatus. The smugglers pay the Sudanese one, pays the other side in court, not in cash. You can prove that when more than 300 people work crossing every month from Guinea to Africa of gas. So both sides are interests. That's why, like and dislike, everyone goes through to the one. If you ask the outright, you will be happy with the passion, but not impossible. If you understand it, you will not be tempted. You will be tempted to the brain, you will not down, but not impossible, because you are correct. So there is a lot of details if we understood. Again, from the same group, we find some leaders within some they ask them for their orders. It is very complicated. But in general, let us say the war of power and resource. And it will very much because the competition of what is. Secondly, for the UN mandate, I still have the mandate, and I think the last activities being done in 2024, I think additional investigations on Android, like ICC, before 2000. So still they have the mandate, and I think the issue that the nature and the mechanism of the ICC itself, which is any restrictions from the government or any part of Sudan, pros and cons efforts. And we have seen that in the year, I think last 3 days, there is a video by Haggard, Fellows President Bashir in a hospital in northern state of Sudan. And if you Google, you find that also of the authority of Sudan have asked by the ICC saying that we don't know where and Bashir and those awarded by the ICC are. Thank you so much. We can give it to Minasa. There is a question from the gentleman that when you are documenting and the survivors tell you the story, most times they ask you the famous question, what is after this documenting, what after this investigation, what are you going to do next, or what are the expectations? According to you, what is the best answer to that?
Thank you so much, Dafur. I want just thank you so much, Dati, for to announce that you have inside to invite group. Really, we are happy to engage with you. And Dati, I need to have for what will be in Malaysia. So that's one of the our strategic plan as my colleague mentioned, because now we are part of part of East Africa. So that reason we are invited to civil society from Kampala, so to know what's going on, and also how to collaboration for this issue of Sudan special support. Thank you so much. To fraternity side, best to coordination together, how to, we have also thousands of refugees around here in Kampala and in Yali, on Rua, in Lumeri, so it's really, that's a good thing. I would ask you a question, that's reason, return me back on since 2014. So for me, I started to work documentation with the Amazon. After Amazon started crossed in Sudan, we see a lot of violations is happening every day. So when you do this documentation, yes, I know victims, they have questions, but you cannot answer the question. You know, documentation have long term and short term. So long term, short term. So now we are focusing with the civil society in with civil society Sudan as our part, we are part of the coalition for advocacy, and also with another organizations. All these civil society Sudanese need to coordinate to write with one. And this